Welcome to the Cool Tools Show. I'm Mark Frauenfelder, Editor-in-Chief of Cool Tools, a website of tool recommendations written by our readers. You can find us at cool-tools.org. I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Kelly, founder of Cool Tools. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, it's great to be here.
In each episode of the Cool Tools Show, Kevin and I talk to a guest about some of his or her favorite uncommon and uncommonly good tools they think others should know about. Our guest this week is Shoshana Berger, the author of A Beginner's Guide to the End with Dr. B.J. Miller. She's also a senior director at the global design firm IDEO, where she's worked on projects ranging from the end of life to reimagining modern Judaism to school lunch. Hey, Shoshana, how are you?
Hey, Mark. It's so good to talk to you again.
It really is.
And it's great to have you join us. We're so much looking forward to your picks for us.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. It's been a long time. It's great to talk to you guys.
It has. We were all in the Wired office together in like 1994, probably.
Yes.
When we were all a lot younger.
Yes.
Yeah. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Innocent as anything.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're all still having fun. And it's so cool that you are doing so many interesting things. You've had a great career. I was a huge fan of your magazine, Ready Made. And I think that some of your picks are kind of ready-made-ish in a way, in that you are into like making your home really cozy and functional.
Yes, it's true.
It's true, yes. And why don't we start with that first cool thing that you have here? Tell us about Lista modular tool cabinets, what they look like, how you use them, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I am a pretty serious cook, and I like a kitchen that feels like it's half garage, like it's half workshop, and that's what we've built here in this kitchen. These Lista modular tool cabinets are industrial era, Swiss designed, indestructible, minimalist tool cabinets. So I wish I could just call up a snapshot here, but they are about as minimalist in the kind of Dieter Rams, like undesign is the best design surface you can imagine. They're white with steel handles, and they look like your laboratory tool box or tool system, but we use them in the kitchen. And what's awesome about that is that they have those dividers that you'll often see in tool cabinets. So I can like divide all of my implements in a really type A, like internal Swiss design way.
Yeah.
And they have, one of the systems that we've built has no face on it. So it's just the drawers that pull in and out. And they've got these rubber pads that have great traction. So I put all of my like baking dishes and bowls, mixing bowls up there. And the kind of motion and sound they have when you pull them in and out is very like factory-like, which is very satisfying to me. As I feel like I'm like half the time in the kitchen, I feel like I'm a chemist anyway, like, performing some grand experiment, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, I am like deeply, deeply attached to these tool cabinets, and I think everyone should just bring the garage into the kitchen.
You gave us some lovely photos of the shelves and how you organize all your implements. So just make sure listeners to go to cool-tools.org so that you can check out the photos and you can really see how beautiful this is.
And these are the kinds of tool cabinets that are often found in workshops. And like you have a Sears kind of a cabinet, they're sometimes red, but these are kind of a whole step up in probably their quality and noise and things like that. I suspect they come in multiple colors, right?
They do.
Which is another advantage you'd have if you were bringing them into your kitchen. You might choose a different color than the standard kind of fire engine red that most tool cabinets come in the garage.
Exactly, Kevin. They're totally customizable. They date back to 1945. They're Swiss made, and they do have that kind of simple post-war functionalism feel. The company started making chairs and tables out of steel tubes, and then they had a stint making mopeds, and then they finally alighted upon these storage systems. And you can just kind of feel that they made something purely for function, but because they're Swiss, it's also gorgeous, So that's very appealing.
Right. And how are they price-wise? Where do they sort of range in, say, compared to having custom wooden cabinets made or compared to other kinds of tool chests?
I would say they're somewhere on the spectrum between a custom cabinet and a tool chest. They're not going to be your off-the-shelf Sears kind of basement price. You're definitely going to pay more for them, but not as much as designing custom wood shelves.
Okay, well, so they could be a bargain because these look very custom when you're done.
They do.
Yeah.
Do you order them directly from the website? Is that the best place to get them?
You can, yes. I just checked out the Lista website. I haven't in many, many years. And all of their cabinets right now are in this like royal blue. So I was like, whoa, why did they choose to show up just those blue ones? But they do indeed customize them, and don't be scared off by that. They're making them for an industrial customer. So they're, yeah.
Right.
Is it easy to use the website to order the sizes you want? And like, how much work was involved in you, like getting these to
actually, them out?
Yeah. That's the word.
They're not necessarily used to dealing direct to consumer. So, and I really love the experience of working with companies that usually work in industries and finding ways to use them in a consumer application. That was part of our thing at Ready Made too. We were like, there are so many amazing tools out there that we could be using that consumers just aren't hip to. And it feels, I have to just harken back to Whole Earth Access here, like, the tools for living. Like, why are we limited to Pottery Barn?
Yes.
when we could have lab tools in the kitchen.
Right.
Like, how cool is that? So I think it's worth the extra effort of dealing with a B2B client and figuring it out.
At the very least, go visit a restaurant supply store.
Totally. Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's a step up. It's not as far as industrial workshops, but it is better than your Pottery Barn.
Totally. Yeah, I'll never forget going into a restaurant supply shop for the first time, and I was like, this is like the best kept secret ever. This is where you get the sharpest knives and the best cutting boards, and they're like a third of the price.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you can often find places that are like restaurant supply closeout places where restaurants that have shut down sell their stuff, and then you can buy it, and it's often in really great condition.
Yes. Another trove.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a great one. I love it. And by the way, for those who are looking for something for the workshop, these would make great workshop cabinets as well, with a little bit more of a flair than your off-brand or Sears cabinets.
They really would. And can I just add one last little hack for these or any drawers you have in the kitchen? This is kind of more of a crafty ready-made hack, but I don't know where I saw this, but I'm sure I copied it from some other crafting genius. In my spice drawer, I take a flat of cardboard, and actually a couple flats of cardboard, very long ones, and then I fold the edge down and build a kind of, it turns into a kind of wedge so that your spices are
they're leaning. They're like they're leaning up a little bit.
Yes, they're clumped up.
Yeah,
they're reclining in this beautiful like little there's this gorgeous lineup of recumbent spices, but they're not flat. They're leaning up towards you, inviting you to use them.
Very
And
nice.
so I have
That's
two
so
of those
cool.
little cardboard
Right,
inserts in my spice drawer.
By the way, a wonderful hack from the YouTube verse for making dividers is to use foam core and hot glue. And you can make very durable, very customized, very rapid dividers for your flat drawers.
That's a good one. That's smart.
It really does work. And it's by far the fastest way to make custom dividers. I mean, really custom.
Yeah.
Totally.
Hot glue and foam core.
Yeah.
It keeps the world together.
for us MacGyvers.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter's friend, her father is a model maker. He designed like the city in Ghostbusters and a lot of the spaceships in the Picard series and stuff. And it's all foam core. He does everything with foam core much faster than 3D printing or any other kind of fabrication. And it's just it's amazing to watch him work at it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. So Shoshana, tell us about your second pick for us.
Okay. So this is a departure, but this is a password manager called Dashlane. And this dates back to when I was an editor at Wired, my second tour of duty at Wired, which was about 8 years ago. And Matt Honan had his computer hacked.
I remember that.
Remember that? He lost everything,
Right.
all of his personal photos, everything. And it was devastating. And after he recovered for a couple of weeks, he's like, hey, this would make a great story. So he ended up writing a cover story on how unprepared and insecure all of our toys are, and how important dual authentication is and password managers and all that. And so Dashlane was one of the top picks on his list. And I was being kind of a sucker for design. I was attracted to its deer logo, actually, because I know most people use 1Password, but I was like, that sounds so generic. I want this Dashlane, because it kind of felt like Dasher, Santa's reindeer, was going to like fly my passwords through the ether and deliver them safely.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. And it works so seamlessly across my devices. It works for my phone and my laptop. I never have to remember anything. I've shared my master password with my family, and if anything ever happens to me, it gives me great comfort that they can just unlock everything with one master code. And having just written a book about how unprepared people are when they die, and it's just so important to share the keys to your digital life with people, way in advance, way upstream of any time it's urgent to do so.
Yeah.
So I truly feel like this is a tool that everyone should have, and I happen to be very attached to Dasher, but any password manager is great, of course.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say.
Totally.
I mean, I kind of harped on it with my kids who are young adults. It's like, no, you have to have a password manager, and now they're all believers. But it does take some people to get over a hurdle. But once they get there, they realize that it's not just more convenient; it's actually far more safe, far more secure, and that's so you get 2 for 1. You get convenience and security, and that's hard to turn down.
Right. I just heard that Tony Hsieh, tragically just died without a will. And, just having written a book about this, the amount of sleuthing that your loved ones have to go through when they don't have that information is really profound. And I had to do that with my own father, and you have to become kind of a digital forensic scientist to even settle an estate, to gain access to someone's digital footprint. It's so complicated. So
yeah, that's really my wife. When my wife's stepfather died, I ended up being the administrator of the estate, and he had no trust or will, and it took forever.
Did he have
probate and
passwords either? Did he have a list of passwords?
no, he didn't really have much in the way of digital stuff, but it was still really hard just tracking everything down and figuring out if he even had life insurance policies, and just it was a couple of years before it was resolved, and it was lawyers were involved and stuff.
Yes.
I was going to ask Shoshana. I use 1Password. I've been using it for years, and it's okay, but it feels like the interface is ugly and it's confusing. But I just know I need to use it. Do you feel that Dashlane is more elegant, or I don't know if you've compared them, but is the user experience good for you?
I think the user experience is pretty elegant. I would imagine, does 1Password allow you to automatically input information everywhere as well? Like something just pops up in the fields and you can input all of your information anytime you fill out a form?
Yes,
yeah,
it does.
Do that.
So that's elegant. And then the actual interface on my desktop of where I manage all my passwords it's really pretty friction free. I wouldn't say it's gorgeous. It's definitely not IDEO designed, but it's very functional.
Okay, good. Well, and like you said, any password manager of the major ones is probably secure and a must-have. Right.
I use 1Password as well, and it was only because I've been using it for so long. There's other LastPass, I think, is another one.
Yes.
The top three, Dashlane. So any of these three that you use would be a huge step forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how about your third tool that you want to rave about?
Sure. So my third one is Openall Knives. Have those ever popped up in your favorite tools before?
I have not heard of them.
Okay. So I discovered these not in the US, but actually at this incredible omnibus tool shop in Munich, Germany called Manufactum, which is just a tool in itself, that store. You can visit it online. It's MANUFACTUM. And great place to go check out for people who love tools and who you're looking for a gift for. Anyway, so Openall knives are very simple kind of switchblade style knives. They have a wood handle. They come in tons of different colors. They have a simple leather strap. It is a razor sharp blade that retracts, and then they have this clever locking mechanism where you just kind of turn a piece at the base of the blade to lock it. And I originally got them as a gift coming back from traveling to Munich for my kids to just start whittling, because I love the old art of whittling sticks. And I wanted them to learn knife skills and to, just like get their inner boy and Girl Scout on. So they love the knives, and they learned knife skills through these Openall knives. But a Swiss Army knife is nice, but they can be heavy and it can be kind of over tooled, in my opinion. Sometimes you just want a great, super sharp knife to bring out to a picnic or camping or wherever. You can use it for everything from, slicing meat or bread to cutting limbs off trees to kindle your fire. So I'm a huge fan.
And to be clear, these are what we would call like a folding knife. So the blade folds into like a wooden handle.
Yes.
And that's the normal storage position, is it's folded up into a handle, and then you unfold them. Do you flick it to unfold it, or do you have to pull it apart?
You have to pull it.
Okay.
And again, like, as you can tell from my tool cabinet pick, to me, the tactility of tools is really important. like actually feeling the movement of it and feeling that you are controlling the movement of it. You know, I still drive a manual shift car, and things like that are, to me, make me feel like I am connected to my tool, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, totally does. Also, these knives are not that expensive either. They're pretty reasonably priced, as I recall.
They are. And they date back to like 1890 in France. They were the conception of a blacksmith's son who learned, you know, forging early on and created these knives for like local French peasants and winemakers. And they were so popular that he ended up scaling his manufacturing process and you know, using a hydraulic turbine to scale his production. He produced 12 different sizes. And they just were like a huge hit from the moment they were designed.
Cool. I like the idea of, as a gift to a child, here's a razor sharp knife. You need to learn how to use this.
Yes. You can tell I'm like a mother who understands the blessings of a skinned knee. Like I truly believe that children need to actually do harm to themselves to learn lessons.
Yeah.
A great mom.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about the workshop stamps.
Okay, last pick. Yellow Owl workshop stamps. And this does harken back to my crafty ready-made past. I don't think you should ever have to buy a store-bought card. I think it's a big waste of money. Using paper and a rubber stamp is so easy, and you can make them in volume so quickly because you're just like inking them and stamping a piece of paper. So Yellow Owl makes these gorgeous stamp kits, and they even have a carve a stamp kit, so you can customize your own stamp. My personal favorite is this one that's like a conifer with pine branches and pine cones that I use for Christmas and Hanukkah cards, or just like the seasonal cards. But they have hellos and happy birthdays and thank yous and je t'aime and kind of whatever you'd want. They're adorable. You have to take a look at them on the Cool Tools site.
What a cool idea.
Yeah, they're really fun.
I like this one, festive rubber stamp kit, and it has like congrats, happy birthday. And so you could kind of like use it for a bunch of different things. And it's $20, which is probably like the price of 3 greetings cards. And then you can just make your own. It's personalized. And I think people will appreciate it more if they know you actually made it yourself.
Right.
Yes.
Have you played with making your own rubber stamps or making things that would stamp, whether they're rubber or not?
Yes, I have. I've done that. And the carving tool, specifically for carving a linoleum block, is so fun. Have you used that tool?
Yes, I haven't. And I do make cards that way. I've been thinking about trying to 3D print a stamp. I'm wondering if that would work.
That's a genius idea, Kevin. I love that.
Because, you flip it and then you would print it at the right height, or you don't have to be the right height. You could just add it to a piece of wood. And then you should be able to stamp your own version of whatever it is that you want.
I like that. That's really smart. Do that and also have the pleasure of carving into rubber, because that's also very pleasurable.
That is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember Nicholson Baker did an essay about the joy of using a ballpoint pen on the side of tennis shoes or sneakers. That rubber, it's like nothing like it.
Yep. That is an adolescent pleasure that we should keep.
So these have been great, Shoshana. We want to hear about your recent book, which you've kind of mentioned in passing, but we want to hear a little bit more about it. So tell us about the book, which is now out in paperback, I believe.
Sure. So it's called A Beginner's Guide to the End. It just came out in paperback last June. And I co-wrote it with a palliative care physician, Dr. BJ Miller. And I'm sort of obliged to say, if you have not seen his TED Talk, please go watch it immediately, because it can be really transformative for anyone who's dealing with mortality at any level, someone who is chronically ill or has a new diagnosis, or if you just have suffered a loss. And the kind of provenance of this project was that BJ was a client at IDEO, actually, and was the director of the Zen Hospice in San Francisco, which is a really beautiful residential hospice where people can go to just get the most compassionate human care at the end of their lives. And BJ came in, he walked into IDEO 3 months after my dad had died, and my dad died with dementia. It was a very long and harrowing experience, because I felt like I just had no clue how to be a good caregiver to him. I feel like our healthcare system is such a kind of like fever dream experience. It's like you kind of feel like you're living in Inception when you're navigating the healthcare system. It's very strange. It can feel very isolating and very confusing. And my sister and I were so clueless that when my dad died, we sat down at the computer in the room where he lay cold and Googled, what do you do after someone dies? Like we didn't even know to call a funeral home. So people really need help, I think, with this experience. And I've kind of designed my whole life around trying to give people instructions for things, like instructions for everyday life was the tagline of Ready Made. And in a way, this is like instructions for everyday death.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful. So the book, is it pretty utilitarian and practical for people? Is this like you say like how-to instructional advice, or is it a little bit more lyrical? Give us a sense of what the book is about.
It is utilitarian. It's if you think about like 90% of pregnant women read What to Expect When You're Expecting, which is like the kind of core how-to on like, how do you get through the 9 months of pregnancy, and then what happens after that? And it's kind of a terrifying book. Like I wouldn't say it was a something that we looked to, but we did think like, why isn't there something like this for the other end of life? Like, why isn't there a how-to?
So yes, it's basically trying to be that friend that you send a text or an email to when you're in a moment of like, what do I do here? How do I navigate this? How do I get through this experience? We tried to write it in that kind of tone of like, here's some help. Here's how you get through this experience.
It does sound like something that is very useful because, as you say, when you're in that state, you're not kind of inclined to have to do all that research yourself. So sound like you've put everything together into one place in the broadest sense. And I think it's a really great resource. I'll have to check it out. Unfortunately, we all have people who are in our lives who are getting older. So this is inevitable at some point or other. I'm really grateful that you've put it all together for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it sounds like a super useful guide. Shoshana, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and share some of your favorite tools. We will have links to your book, and we'll have links to all of the things that you talked about by just visiting cool-tools.org. Shoshana, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure and real great to catch up again.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure. And I'm a big fan of the podcast. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, great. Thanks, Shoshana. I appreciate it. And good luck with everything. Have a nice weekend. when this is all over, I hope to see you again soon.
Me too. Talk to you soon.
Okay, cool. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody, it's your host, Mark, and I wanted to thank you for listening to the Cool Tools Show. And I also wanted to let you know that we've got a lot more going on at Cool Tools than just this podcast. We also have the Cool Tools website, which has a new tool review every day, and you can get there by going to cool-tools.org. We also have 4 different newsletters that you can subscribe to, and you can subscribe to those from the Cool Tools page. We have this podcast that you're listening to right now. We also have a YouTube channel where we review tools. Check that YouTube channel out by going to youtube.com/cooltools. And one of the things I'd like to ask you is if you're really enjoying everything that we are producing, go to our Patreon page and support us there. You can sign up and give us as little as $1 a month, and that would mean a lot to us. The money that we get from Patreon goes towards a lot of things. We transcribe our podcast interviews so that you can read them online. We pay for editing of our podcasts and for our videos. We pay our contributors. We have video production costs. We have equipment costs. We have hosting costs. And the money you give us through Patreon also goes to support Cool Tools Lab. Anything you give is a huge help. And one of the things that we do is if you are a contributor to Patreon, we'll give you a shout out on air. And so I have a few people here to thank this week. Mark Lyanaj, Micah Gates, Monty Zukowski, Patrick James McNally, Robert Cohen, Scott, Spence Lloyd, Steve Avery, Steve Golden, Steve Levine, Tom Hess, William Phillips, Aaron Nipper, Darab Patel, Glenn Mercer, Jay Walker, Jeff Bonner, Ryan Jarrell, Pat Daly, Patrick Kennedy, Troy Wallet, Mike Camerate, Nicole Harkin, Tim Youssef, Scott Reed. Thanks all of you for supporting Cool Tools. And if you would like to have a shout out, go over to the Patreon page and sign up. And thanks for listening to the Cool Tools podcast. We'll see you next week.